Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Sawyer, and on behalf of Crystal Clear Patient Now and BuildMyBod, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar. Totally psyched to be working together today with Dr. Kaplan. Many of you know he is a world-renowned, world-class plastic surgeon. He's also a bit of an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur and technologist. He's got a lot of best practices he wants to share with you today. Feel free to post any questions in the chat as we go. We'll be more than happy to get to all of them. Upon his completion, I am going to be talking for a little bit about and save staff time. So we want to increase efficiency, decrease costs. We're going to talk about that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the virtual podium, Dr. Jonathan Kaplan. Take it away, Dr. Kaplan.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that, Tim. We're going to go ahead and get started, and here, hopefully you can see my screen now. Thanks again for having me. And Audrey, thanks for organizing all this. Always happy to be back with y'all. This is like, I think, the second podcast we've done together. We've done some, the second webinar. We've done some podcasts. Look forward to doing some more. But today, as you saw in all the invitations we sent out, where I'm going to be talking about how a chatbot is the newest employee of the month in my practice. I'm a board certified plastic surgeon in San Francisco. Also developed a price transparency lead generation platform, BuildMyBod Health. But I'm going to be talking about how I use different aspects of the BuildMyBod Health platform, but in my practice. Going to go over some data, some outcomes measures that we've measured within my practice. I've been here in San Francisco now for almost 8 years. My wife and I moved here from Louisiana, and it's been great. Took over the practice from somebody else, and now all the bills are mine. But things are going well, and we're here for good. And just want to show you some of the things that have allowed me to purchase a practice, stay busy, stay successful, and in I would say a pretty busy area, San Francisco. It's they say that, and I don't know if it's true, but I'm just going to promote this. What I've heard, in case it is true, that supposedly there are more plastic surgeons in San Francisco per capita than there are in LA. So take that for what it's worth. So we'll go ahead and get started. First off, chatbot versus a chat box. What are the differences? So a chat bot is always a chat box, but a chat box isn't necessarily a chat bot. And what I mean by that, and we'll start with talking about a chat box. Chat box is that all-encompassing term that people refer to. It's kind of that umbrella term, refers to that interactive window, typically in the lower right-hand corner of your website, where people can ask questions. It can help hopefully avoid having to call in. And there's different formats. There are ways you can just type in and get an automated response, or you'll type a question in and you'll get a live agent, or it might be a combination of both. It's kind of analogous to calling customer service. They'll ask you what, if you're looking for billing or account information, and then they'll connect you with a live person if you're calling in. Same thing with the chat box. They might have an automated service initially, and then they get you to a live agent. And then comparing that to a chat bot, this is that service where it's an automated response, whether they're using an algorithm or some sort of workflow or artificial intelligence, big buzzword, and they attempt to understand what the user is asking and hopefully provide them with automated response. Now, if any of you have used a chat bot lately, where you just type in some natural language, you'll find that it probably really doesn't work that well, that you'll type something in and it'll say, is this the answer to your question? And you have the option of yes or no. That doesn't help. You type in no, that doesn't help. And then they'll try to give you another question. And then maybe they'll send you to a live agent when they realize that natural language processing really isn't working. I'm not saying it's never going to work, but at this point, for a relatively expensive amount of money, it's hard to get a chat bot that uses natural language processing where you can just type in whatever you want and you'll actually get the answer you want. It'll get there eventually, it's just not there yet. So what I have found, and I'll show you examples of this in a little bit, is that a chat bot that is very restrictive to allowing you to either only choosing options, like you really can't type in just anything and hope to get a response. But if you, it gives you like 4 options, you click one of those options, then it gives you a couple more options, choose one of those, gives you a couple more options. But basically, it's very regimented workflow, doesn't allow you to get outside of it, avoid some of the complexity of natural language processing. And yes, maybe it can accomplish less, but at least it will get you to the answer you want every single time. Some pros and cons just showing you up on the screen: a chat bot versus a chat box with a live agent. The chat bot is automated. It's always available. They don't take time off, whereas a chat box with a live agent, they may be answering multiple questions at a time with other consumers, so they may not be able to respond to you immediately. If you ever have used the chat box with American Express, you'll know that sometimes they respond to you quickly, a real live person, or sometimes it's a little delayed because they're answering somebody else. The other thing is, after hours, a lot of these chat boxes that you see, they're not available, and they kind of switch to a chat bot mode because it's after hours and nobody's working. So that's the nice thing about a chat bot, always available. The other thing is what I was talking about before is if you're trying to really implement natural language processing where you're just typing in whatever you want with a chat bot, you're going to find that it decreases the likelihood of you getting the correct information. Whereas with a live agent, as long as it's a well-trained live agent, you're probably going to get a good answer every single time. You just may pay more money for that. If you limit the options, like I was talking about, a regimented workflow where you only give certain options for the user to go down one path or another, then you're probably going to get them closer to a better, to the correct info that they're looking for. Now, this goes back to what I was saying before, is that it may only do one thing, but it does it well. If you only do one thing and you do it well, then that's worthwhile. And as long as the consumer knows that your chat bot only does one thing and you're using it for that purpose, you'll get the answer every time. And that's very much a patient satisfier. And overall, chat bots are less expensive because they're not employing a live agent, which is going to be more expensive. And I'm not saying that you're using a live agent within your own practice. It's usually a third-party vendor that you're working with. And this, as I mentioned before, you could have a combination where it's a chat bot initially, and then once they know what you're looking for, then they hand you off to a live agent. Now, I wrote a blog several years ago on my website, and you might notice that at the top it says Real Dr. Bay, and then below that it's Pacific Heights Plastic Surgery. Those are both the same websites. One just directs to the other. The background to Real Dr. Bay, that's my Instagram handle. Since I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it's Dr. Bay, B-A-E, not B-A-Y. It's just something clever for the millennials, but it does work. But anyway, on my website, realdrbay.com or pacificheights-plastic-surgery.com/blog, you'll see this article I wrote a few years ago about live chat website submission forms and how lame they are. Now, I wrote that and I was wrong partially. I still think that website submission forms are totally lame because the main issue I have with them is that the consumer types in a question and you have to your office staff has to manually respond to them. And if there's just a few of those, no problem. But if you're getting hundreds or thousands of questions through your website submission forms and they're all legitimate questions, that's really kind of untenable for your office staff to be able to answer that. So you need to find a way to find out what the most common questions are from your consumers out there, your clientele. Find out what the most common questions are and find a way to automate the answers to those questions, which a website submission form just really does not do. So kind of going along with what I've learned since I wrote that article about chat bots and chat boxes and website submission forms being lame, live chat bots, they are not lame. They are very beneficial. They have their place. In fact, if you want to kind of delve into it a little more about live chat versus chat bot versus a combination of that and how different companies price their chat bots and chat boxes, I have nothing to disclose, but this is a great company, apexchat.com. They've got a great blog post on this. I know it's kind of a long URL. Just take a quick screenshot of the screen right now and check out this blog post a little bit later. Don't go look at it now. We want you to pay attention to us. But apexchat.com/blog/live chat pricing goes over the pros and cons, goes over the pricing and how they price those leads and things like that. Very useful. So website submission forms lame, chat bots not lame. But I do tend to feel more like chat bots and automation of any kind can be better because consumers don't always want to start out talking to somebody. They want to get some information right off the bat in an automated way. So if you take a look at a call to action buttons within a sales funnel from that perspective, you'll see that the option of getting an online virtual consult within this pandemic time, you'll see that's more towards the bottom of your sales funnel. People that are ready to have a consult, whether in person or virtually, those are the people at the bottom of your sales funnel. Because again, the whole idea of the sales funnel is get as many leads at the top and you filter them through as you get more and more serious patients. And hopefully at the bottom, you'll get some real consults out of it. And then you have some paying patients. If you have most of your patients coming in that are at the bottom of the funnel, God love you, but that's usually not how it works. Usually it's strength in numbers. The more leads you get, the more things you have coming out the bottom of your funnel. If you have too few leads coming in at the top, you're gonna have even fewer options coming out the bottom. So somewhere in the middle of that sales funnel, that's where you have somebody who wants to interact with the website or interact with the office staff, and they'll ask a question through the website submission form, or maybe they'll have the live chat. They'll really want to talk to somebody, or maybe they're ready to book online. So those are people further down the funnel. They've done their research. They're ready to pull the trigger. And then at the very top of that funnel, you know, you don't want to lose all of those potential leads. You want to get the people that are just starting their research, because then you can build a more robust email database full of leads. And so the call to action buttons you need at the top of the funnel all relate to automation. And the examples I have for you there are chatbots and online stores, e-commerce, but being able to capture the people on your website, getting their contact information even before they're ready to interact with a live office staff, whether they're earlier, before they're ready to come in for a consult. You want to capture these people, and you can do that with a chatbot and online commerce. And I'll show you examples of how I do that within my website a little bit later. So the beauty of automation allows you to capture that those consumer leads and potentially money, people buying stuff on your website as far as like skincare products. They don't necessarily want to call and say, you know, what specials do you have on skincare products? They would like to just do it on your website, but I'm going to show you a way that you can even capture leads even before they're ready to purchase. But it's just a great way. Automation is a great way to capture those people before they're ready to interact with office staff. So here are 3 examples of automation that I love, that I've implemented into my website, that I think make a huge difference in our lead generation. So obviously, main topic today, chatbots. Let's get right into that. Here is a video of my website on mobile that you'll see at the bottom there that says check pricing now on our PriceChecker Chatbot. So this goes back to what I was saying before. If you have a chatbot, since you can't really use natural language processing and get the person to the answer they're looking for, do one thing and do it well. What's the one thing everybody wants to know? Doesn't necessarily make them a price shopper, but they all want to know pricing. They want to know whether it's worth it coming into their office, coming into your office to get a consultation if they can't even afford it. They don't want to go through that process. So with our chatbot, this is how it works. The consumer opens this up on our mobile page. They choose one of the categories, very regimented workflow. They can choose the breast category. Then we show them all of our breast procedures. You can do this with lasers, IPL, whatever. After they choose that specific procedure, we ask them their name, their zip code, their email address. And then we tell them, you can see that in green, it says success. Your wish list with pricing has been emailed to you. Now, we purposely do not show them pricing on the screen here because we don't want them to put in a fake email address like I did in this example. We want them to have a little bit of a buy-in, like give us your real email address and we will really send you an estimate immediately, automatically, instantly to your inbox so you can see pricing and you can go from there. So that's why we don't show the pricing here. We send them to their email, assuming they put in a real email address. We send it to their email and the email looks like this. The consumer gets a copy of the email and my office staff gets a copy of the email, and it has our logo up the top. And we can see the patient's name. We can see the procedure that they're interested in. Again, this is the example I put in. The consumer gets the same email. They see a breakdown of all the pricing, and we see their email address and we see their zip code and city and state. Gives us a little more insight as to whether they're local and more than likely to come in. So this is a great automated way, quick and dirty. They can get pricing, get in, get out. But the beautiful thing about this is this chatbot, notice it's on our home page. So let's say you have somebody get to your website that's not really looking to browse around. Maybe you're going to really have a high bounce rate. Maybe they're not going to stay on your website very long unless they see what they want on the homepage. They're like not even willing to browse to go look at something on another page. You want to capture them right then and there on the homepage before they leave. That's the beauty of the chatbot, is it captures a lot of leads of people who may not have had the patience to go searching for information. But let's say they are willing to search for a little more information. They want to delve into this a little bit more. Then you'll notice on our website up at the top, we also have a Get a Quote Now button that takes them to a more in-depth price estimator. So let's say, okay, you know what, I've got the information. I want a little more information than what I can get from the chatbot, but at least we kept them on our website. they'll close the chat bot, they'll go to the Get a Quote Now button, and that brings them to this formal price estimator that we have on our website. And check how cool this is. They can actually type in procedures instead of like scrolling through a list of procedures. They can actually type in a procedure and do a search. And so if they type in breast, obviously it brings up all the breast procedures that I offer in my practice. But what's even cooler is that let's say they don't use the term breast, but something a little more informal like boob. This system is smart enough to recognize that boob is the same as breast, and it pulls up all those breast procedures. Same thing, or similarly with the tummy tuck. It pulls up the natural, it brings up that exact word match. But let's say it types in abdominoplasty, it still brings up tummy tuck procedures on my website, or deals or specials. You see all these examples that I'm putting in. It brings up all of the things that they can purchase on our website. And then let's assume that they want to actually check pricing also. So they can go through the procedures, they can add it to their wish list. We ask them a couple questions about how soon they're looking to get it done, and is it okay if we follow up with you? And when it's time to submit the wish list, this is how we capture their contact information. We make it really easy, either with single sign-on with Facebook or Google, or they can create an account with their own email address, putting in a little bit more demographic information. And then they see all the pricing after we have verified who they are. We put all the pricing information right there up there on the screen. We break it down really nicely for them, the total estimated amount, the doctor's fee, the OR fees, cost of implants, post-op supplies like garments. Then they can even schedule a consultation and apply for financing. So check out how cool this is, how automated it is, that they haven't talked to anybody on our staff yet. They kind of know the procedure they want. And even if they don't select the exact correct procedure, we still get their contact information. Our office staff can follow up and give them a little more detail. But even before they have interacted with our staff, they've gotten the price and the breakdown of the price for the procedure that they're interested in. They can apply for financing. So by the time they do come in for a consult, they're pre-approved for their financing. I mean, we're automating a lot of things before they even get into our office. This is huge. And in addition to that, same thing, because when they created an account, we get a little bit more information from them. So that shows up on that email, but the patient gets the same email. This is a real patient. That's why I blocked it out. They see the breakdown of pricing, and we see their email address, we see their phone number, and so we can follow up with them. It's really, really convenient. Now, a quick segue before I get back into all the other automated things. I talk about pricing a lot, and it's always couched in the idea of pricing for cosmetic procedures or cash pay procedures. But I do want you to know that if there's anybody out there watching today that also has a part of their practice that is still doing insurance-based services, price estimators still work for this. In fact, CMS, that handles Medicare, Medicaid, they're requiring hospitals to do this now. And eventually, consumers are going to change their expectations. They're going to assume, well, if hospitals show pricing, even with insurance-based services, they're going to start to expect it from doctors. So I just want to show you really quickly how you can even use a price estimator for insurance-based services in your practice. So the consumer comes to your website, they see all the different insurance plans you have negotiated rates for. Let's say they choose Cigna. Let's say that you're an orthopedic practice and the consumer chooses shoulder. And this will show them all of the shoulder procedures they may be curious about. They add that item to their wish list, and they can just get the negotiated rate, or they can put in a little more detail, like their deductible and how much they've paid toward their deductible, what their out-of-pocket maximum is, what their coinsurance is. All of this is on their insurance card. And so now, instead of just getting the negotiated rate, they can see what the rate is for Cigna for this particular procedure, but also how much they would actually owe out of pocket based on their deductible, how much they've paid towards the deductible based on their coinsurance. And so instead of just showing the person, okay, you're going to owe 36 grand out of pocket for this shoulder procedure at this hospital, we can break it down so that she can see that insurance will pay 32 grand of it, and that you're going to owe 47.50 of that. So again, same kind of thing where the consumer can actually get really useful, actionable information, even for insurance-based services, and you get their contact information in return. So if any of you are out there still offering insurance-based services in addition to cosmetic services, you can capture patients either way, whether it's cash rates or negotiated rates based on their insurance. So that was my quick segue. Now, as promised, I'm going to get back to the regular scheduled programming with all the data that we've collected about chatbots and price estimators. So our data from September of 2020 through February of 2021. So this window just ended 9 days ago. So you can see our overall website leads The blue is our price estimator, which was that more in-depth one that I showed you. The chatbot leads are orange, and that really narrow sliver is the website submission forms. So you can see overall, we've gotten 2,003 leads from our price estimator over those several months, got 456 unique leads from the chatbot, and only 22 from the website submission form. So what this I want to show you is that, yes, you may say, oh, well, I get more website submission forms. That I was like, you do, because you might not have any better options on your website of how to capture a patient. If you can capture them through automated means, like I've discussed, you're going to increase your lead generation multifold, because you need as many leads as possible, because you need to fill that sales funnel, because the more leads you have coming in at the top, the more leads you'll have coming in at the bottom, coming down out of the bottom. So 2003 price estimator leads, 456 chatbot leads, that will sustain a practice as far as lead generation and patients coming in. 22 leads coming through the website submission form, that will not sustain a practice. Now, I want to show you this line graph where it compares chatbot leads and price estimator leads. The higher numbers, the red line, those are the price estimator leads. The blue one at the bottom of chatbot leads. Now the red one, why are there more leads coming through the price estimator? Well, that's been around longer. There may be more links out in cyberspace. How people are getting to our websites with the price estimator link that they find, somewhere on the internet. The blue line, the chatbot, we just really released that. Well, it was really a soft opening. We released that in September, and it's was kind of going on an even keel. We worked out some kinks with it. Now it's like works wonderfully. And you'll see December to January, it jumped up. And then you say, oh, wait, but it dropped from January to February. Well, I left all this data in to show you something. When we had that soft opening or the soft release from September to December, but January, the new year, instead of posting New Year, New You, like a lot of subject lines in email newsletters, we said check pricing on our new PriceChecker Chatbot. And we heavily promoted that in January on our email newsletters, on social media. So January is just evidence of how marketing can work. And it can work really well if you have a lot of leads. Think about the fact that we've got 13,000 leads in our email marketing database. So that means that whenever we want to market something, we just send out an email newsletter. We don't have to rely on Google AdWords or Facebook ads. We send out an e-blast to 13,000 people, unique individuals, to let them know whatever we want them to know about, whether we got a new procedure or whether we have a new chat bot that allows for pricing. So that's just to show you in January, huge amount of marketing on free marketing, because it was through an email newsletter and on social media, it's all free. So we had a huge jump in leads in January, and then we didn't market it as much. And so it came down in February, but although you may not be able to tell, February still had a few more leads than December. So we're still on average increasing our leads with our chatbot. Very happy with it. It works very well. It's very regimented. The consumer can't make a mistake with it, and they always get the answer they're looking for as far as the price for their procedure. So wanted to show you that. The other data I want to show you is something you may wonder is like, well, you're getting a lot of leads. How many consults you getting? So I'm going to break this down: leads from the website submission forms and the consults, leads and consults from the price estimator, leads and consults from the chatbot. So starting with leads from the website submission form, we got 4 consults out of 22 leads. So that's 18%. That's pretty good. So you're thinking, Jonathan, why are you so down on website submission forms? Well, I'm thrilled that we got 4 leads out of those 22, but make no mistake that those 4 people I went through and checked, they also went through and checked pricing after that. So their initial interaction with our website was through the website submission form. So I'm glad it's there for that reason, but they did ultimately realize that we had pricing available on our website, and they really wanted to know that. Everybody does. So yes, it's great, 18% return on those 22 leads, but I can't build a sustainable practice with just 22 leads. So that's why we need something else that generates a lot more leads to build a huge email marketing database so that I own my marketing. Again, like I said, you're going through some tough times in the pandemic. Maybe you don't have the cash flow to spend money on Google AdWords or on Facebook advertising. Well, if you've got 13,000 leads in your email marketing database, you can own your marketing, market to whoever you want for about whatever you want, whenever you do want. And that's why the price estimator is so beneficial, is that we got those 2,003 leads, got 56 consults out of it. That's great. And then with the chatbot, we had 456 leads, 19 consults. And the thing I want you to remember is that, you think, oh, well, 56, that's like 2% of 2003. Do not focus on just the here and now. We're also building out these leads for the future. I'm only showing you a snapshot from September to February, but those 2003 leads, those 456 leads from the chatbot, do not make the mistake of thinking those people are never coming in. These are people who are on my website checking out pricing for cosmetic services. I know they're interested in cosmetic services. They're eventually going to go to somebody to get cosmetic services. Hopefully it's me, because I have that lead in my inbox, or they have an email from me in my inbox because I'm sending out monthly email newsletters that if once they're ready to go see a plastic surgeon, they'll look in their inbox and they'll see me and they'll come in. But that's the thing, is we're generating these leads for the long term. It's really, really beneficial generating a ton of leads because these people will absolutely eventually come in. So again, website submission forms requires a manual response. Price estimator, it's automated, instant response. And with the chatbot, it's just automated and idiot proof. They can always get the answer they're looking for. Moving on to the second example of automation is online purchases. So if you look at most practices, they've got an online store. No big whoop. But what they do that I think is wrong is they show all the services they offer, whether it's memberships or packages or subscriptions or skincare products. They show it all on their website and they show the pricing right next to it. So you see the price, the consumer sees the price, and if they buy it, great. But we all know most of them aren't buying it online. They maybe are going to think about it. Maybe they will buy it online eventually. But at the very least, you showing the pricing on there, you're giving the milk away for free. They may look at it and not buy it, and then they leave your website and you never have any idea who they are. That's not the way to do it. Abandoned carts are the secret. So if you look at my website within our price estimator, people can purchase non-surgical services. If you notice that example I was showing you, if you use the search field on our price estimator, you can type in deal or specials. It automatically shows all of our online things that we sell online that are purchasable online. And so this is another example of people can purchase things through the web, through the price estimator, but they have to log in and buy. Notice they don't see the price yet. They're interested in Renuva, which is for cellulite treatment. They have to log in to buy it. And so just like I showed you before, they have to create an account, put in their demographic information. And once they log in, they will see the price. We're not going to ask them to buy it without seeing the price, but they see the price after they've logged in, and there's the credit card information. They can enter it, they can buy it. And if they buy it, great, very happy. We get the dollars, we get the patient, we get their contact information. That's awesome. But we all know that they're all not going to buy it. And so even if they don't buy it, they still had to log in and create an account to see the price. And so we get an abandoned cart email 15 minutes later if they don't buy it. And we give them another opportunity to buy it. We say, hey, you left that Renuva in your shopping cart. Click here to buy it. And if they buy it, again, great. But if they don't, they get the same email that the email that the consumer gets. My office staff gets the same email. We see their name, we see their email address, and we see their phone number, and now we can follow up with them. So all those people that were just looking at the price, now we have something to take home. We're not left empty-handed. We have their contact information to follow up with them. Looking back at a sales funnel, think about it. It makes sense. Those people that are considering purchasing on your online store, that makes up a majority of the people in your sales funnel. The people that are actually purchasing, way smaller group at the bottom of your sales funnel. But with abandoned carts requiring people to sign in just to see the price, you're going to capture all of those people who are interested enough in seeing the price. And so abandoned carts capture everybody. So even if they don't buy it, at least you get something out of it. You get their contact information for the future. Quick case study with a crystal clear client. This is Dr. Stephen Weiner, a facial plastic surgeon in Florida. We did a study with his website. He had the price estimator in his website. He had the ability to do abandoned cart emails. Anyway, over a year ago, we followed him from November of 2019 to March, the beginning of March 2020, and he generated almost $5,300 in online sales. That's pretty awesome in and of itself. The story could end there. But the other thing is, in the process of getting $5,300 in online sales, he also captured 95 additional leads from those abandoned cart emails. So abandoned cart, huge. You're leaving so many leads on your website from just showing pricing, giving the milk away for free. A quick example, just show you the aesthetic clinic. This is Dr. Weiner's website. He's got that get a quote now button, brings people to his price estimator where they can purchase non-surgical services right there on his website. And then even if they don't buy it, to see the price, they still have to create an account, and he gets their contact information in the form of an abandoned cart. And my third example of automation is online booking. This, I think, this was huge for me before the pandemic. It's even bigger now because now we can incorporate a few things that involve virtual consults with the online booking. So if you look back at my website homepage, you got the Get a Quote Now button up top, and then in the middle, book online now. We want people to know that it's easy as possible to book online. And this brings them to our online booking page. And this is a third-party vendor I use, STX Salon Transcripts. I have nothing to disclose. But they do it's true online booking that connects to our calendar. And so if the time is available, then that works. That really is the time that's available. But the thing I want to blow up here and show you is that when people go on and choose to book a consult or just an after cosmetic surgery visit, they can do that too. But if they're booking a consult, we give them the options of what consult type they want, whether it's in person or FaceTime or Skype or Zoom. So it really helps us zero in and be better prepared for the time when we're going to do the consult, because once we know what type of consult we want, what type of virtual consult, and I should step back. This is important to me, I think, is that important to the consumer, is that instead of saying you've got to use this type of online booking, this type of online virtual consult, we're meeting them halfway. We're like, what are you most comfortable with? Are you most comfortable with your iPhone or Skype or Zoom? And so by allowing them to choose the type of virtual consult, then we know better how to prepare for those consults. We can get their phone number, or first, make sure they have an iPhone if they want to do FaceTime, get their phone number for FaceTime, send them get their handled so we can send them a link for Skype, and get their email address to send them a link for Zoom. So it's really nice automated way to find out what type of platform they want to use ahead of time so we can start the conversation from there. The other thing that's great about online booking or virtual consults is that the paperwork that they have to fill out, now we can send them that paperwork, the typical intake paperwork. We send it to them via DocuSign. This is a paid service, nothing to disclose, but it is so easy to take your existing intake paperwork, the PDFs, and change that into a DocuSign document. You send the patient that link, they fill out your paperwork, and you get all that paperwork sent to you automatically. And it also is an opportunity for you to kind of start talking to them and being in a texting relationship with the patient, because they love texting. But this online paperwork, filling it out ahead of time, not having to fill it out when they get in, even if they come in person, we still send them the paperwork ahead of time to fill out electronically. It's so convenient. So in conclusion, automation is key. Hopefully I've made that very, very clear. But for automation to work, you need a tantalizing call to action to allow the consumer to get some automated information in exchange for their contact information. Pricing is the most tantalizing way to do that, because you need to be looking at every person who comes to your website, not as just a way to educate another person, but you need to treat each visit to your website as an opportunity to capture their contact information and build a huge email marketing database. I know Tim is going to be going over some things next. I just want to let y'all know, and I'm happy to answer questions after Tim's done. But just so y'all know, if y'all are interested in a chatbot, you can get a free 1-month trial. Just visit our website and sign up. Take a screenshot of this if I'm going too quickly. You will be asked to enter your credit card information, but just enter promo code 1 month free ! So you can check out the chatbot, use it on your website for free for a month. And if you like it, you want to stick around, then you'll have the opportunity to use the price estimator and unlock other benefits as well. But thank y'all so much for listening. I appreciate y'all's attention. You can follow me on any of these social media channels. And Tim, I will hand it off to you now.
Thank you, and great job. Big clap for
Thanks.
Dr. Kaplan. What I always love about watching Dr. Kaplan give these talks is it's not often that you see a plastic surgeon with the same passion for technology and with the type of business acumen that you possess, Dr. Kaplan. And I think as an entrepreneur, I can certainly appreciate that you're not only building the cabinets, but you're marketing them as good as anybody can.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about real quick, guys, we're going to spend some quality time together today. And this dovetails really nicely with the conversation that we're having with Dr. Kaplan. I've seen him make similar presentations in the past. He's absolutely right. Anything that we can automate, and we're going to talk about lead conversion, and that's really important at the end of the day, but anything that we can automate effectively, we need to give that a look, right? Because at the end of the day, and as we get into this marketing conversation around digital marketing, more importantly, it's not so much about the mechanism, it's about the result and the ability to measure the result. And all the technology that Dr. Kaplan has created has really good tracking mechanisms so that, and then these are good questions, right? So let's start there. Do you know what strategies you are currently implementing and why and when it comes to attracting, converting, and retaining today's modern consumer? In other words, in your practice, if you're the one ultimately responsible for marketing in general, whether it's a chatbot, whether it's a price transparency widget, website itself, whatever it is, who's responsible for that? Who's tracking that? And at the end of the day, who's making adjustments to ensure that you're getting the outcome that you deserve, right? That's super important. And let's just take a second. Think about the detailed data that we were just shared with. Do you know how many unique websites occurred, how many visits occurred on your website last month? So could you right now go to a report and say, okay, Tim, I had 2,700 unique visitors come to my site. Of that 2,700, 1,000 did this, 500 did that, 300 did nothing. And then ultimately, what percentage of those either hit a chatbot, used the pricing module, filled out a form, or equally as important, called the practice to inquire? Do you know what that, we call that the conversion rate, right? How many visitors to forms and phone calls or inquiries, and then how many forms and phone calls to inquiries to consults, and how many consults to paying patients? And I thought it'd be neat, and I'm going to follow up with Dr. Kaplan on this on our podcast. I would be curious to know the ultimate conversion rate from those different marketing tools in terms of this is how many people did it, this is what it cost me to generate that, and this is how much money I made. Because at the end of the day, that's the conversation. It's what is it that you can do, the path of least resistance to generate the highest ROI. Makes sense, right? And then do that. Do you know what percentage of those visitors converted to a phone call? Do you know what percentage of those people actually gave you money? And that's the theme for today. Do you know the amount of money you spent to generate those consultations? Do you know how much money your business received from those consultations? And remember that 5,200 number that Dr. Kaplan shared? He knows these numbers, not only for himself, but his own customers. Do you know how much revenue you made? Do you know the ROI from those efforts? Do you care, and should you care? And let's just let that breathe in for a moment, right? So typically in the practice, there's a couple of marketing motions. There's the desire of the surgeon, the owner, the doctor, the practice manager to grow the business, right? And then there's all the activities that need to happen around that. And ultimately, someone's got to be responsible for that. So the question that I have is, if you're responsible for those numbers, do you have some place that you can go and figure out? And the answer is you do. It's called Google Analytics, right? So if you're not using Google Analytics, you should. That'll give you more information than you could ever digest as it relates to activity around your website, including unique visitors and where they went on the site. And Dr. Kaplan mentioned bounce rate. That's the number of people that come to one landing page and don't go anywhere else. You want to know what your bounce rate is. Make sure if you're not using Google Analytics that you get set up with that, okay? Do you know practices only follow up on half the leads? This is the gap that I want to talk about. 10% of practices report tracking their leads. How much can one lost opportunity cost your practice? So let's think about this for a second as we contemplate this graph in front of you, or this chart. The big gap that we're trying to solve for is all these marketing activities that you're creating, aside from the chatbot, the price transparency module, which are the pricing module, which I think are all awesome and they're proven. Whatever it is that you're doing, we have to make sure that we are capturing the patient's information, prospect at that point, and that we are putting them into a marketable database. Why? Because as Dr. Kaplan said, and this theme was borne out since March of last year, particularly during COVID, right? So I'll give you an example of Crystal Clear's business model. So as many of you know, Crystal Clear attended prior to COVID in 2019, almost 70 trade shows and conventions, okay? Of those 70 trade shows and conventions, and there were a lot of money spent on that, that accounted for more than 80% of our new client acquisitions. You guys, right? Because we were at all these shows, we meet you at shows. we'd collect your information. You either made a purchase decision at the show, or we had automated follow-up, and we chase, and then ultimately you'd become a client or not, right? So here's the challenge. Then shows went away. So if my entire business model, almost $10 million in revenue, was predicated on success at shows, there were no shows. So there was literally no place to spend the money. So how did we get through that? It's a real simple thing, guys, and I do want you to think about it because you can apply it to your practice. Let's say we were acquiring 12 customers a month, 12 new doctors, practices, providers, whatever. And we were spending, roughly $50,000, $60,000, whatever, to attract those, because about 70,000, to attract those customers to our business, right? Through shows, because we're spending $850,000 a year. Well, once there were no shows, what we did was pass that savings onto the customer, and we created a virtual world. So we did no money down, instead of 6,000, it's free. We still do it to that this day. And we created a complete virtual game that was predicated on one very simple principle, that you have to build, manage, and automate as much marketing as you can to your database, right? This is the gap. Someone calls a practice, fills out a form in the practice on your website, or calls a practice and gets an answering machine, and they're inquiring. So whoever's responsible for that makes one phone call to get back to them, maybe two, maybe you're busy, right? And then there's the head trash of, well, I don't want to call them too many times and turn them off. And so what happens is we call them once or twice, and now that lead is either trapped in somebody's phone or trapped in somebody's email, right? Gmail, Outlook, whatever it is. And they never make it into a marketable database. Let's say you're getting 100 leads a month, round numbers. And let's say you're contacting 50 of those. So 50 are interested, but not enough that they're going to chase you, okay? And you certainly don't have the time to chase them. That means 50% of the folks that expressed interest in your practice never make it into a marketing database. So if they don't transact now, there's zero chance that through lead nurturing, marketing automation, promotional text marketing, that we're going to get that person back into the practice for a treatment and procedure a year from now, right? If you go back to the crystal clear example, because we had built this big database from all these shows that we did, and we would fight hard to get a mobile number and get an email address of the surgeon or the doctor or the practice manager. And we were trying to get our database to 20, 25,000. And had we not put the effort into getting that information from the shows and then putting it into the appropriate groups and creating the right messaging, we would have been dead. So for me, it's very personal when we talk about creating ways to capture, in other words, find, right? Everybody on this call, including Dr. Kaplan, we all have to do three things every day. We all have to find, increase the quantity and quality of traffic to our websites and phones, whether it's the chatbot, the pricing module, whatever it is, we have to do that, right? And there's certain things that we can do to do that. Once we find, increase the quantity and quality of traffic, then we need to convert and treat those folks, provide a world-class patient experience. So find, treat, and then keep. If you have ongoing elective medical services that there's a frequency to it, meaning every 90 days or whatever that is, right? Or every once a year, it's time to come in and get a touch-up. How are you staying in touch with those folks on a regular basis so they don't get pillaged by a competitor, right? And we all know there's only, really important to think about this for a second. There's only two ways that we can get a customer. One, it's a new entrant into the marketplace. That means this person has never done a treatment or procedure before. They do not have a provider. They're not working with a plastic surgeon. Now they come into the marketplace. Where are they going to go? Well, statistically, more than 80% of the time, the internet. And statistically, they will look at 2 or more practices in their initial search, okay? So that's a new entrant. The next is someone gets irritated because they have a bad experience at their current provider. Where are they going to go to find a new one? Exactly, the same place, right? So on the find side, we need to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to make it easy to be found online. Conversely, we want to make sure on the keep side, because we spend a lot of time talking about driving more leads, more opportunities, and then of course capturing those leads is super important. We spend a lot of time talking about that, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about ongoing marketing efforts to our existing patient base to prevent them from wandering off, right? And we know that to get a new customer, a patient into our practice is a lot more expensive than extending some effort or expending some effort to keep them, right? So this is the model that we want to share with you. Find, treat, and keep more patients profitably. So let's unpack that. What are some of the things that you can do to find? Obviously, your site. Dr. Kaplan showed some great examples of things that you can do on your site, and we're going to unpack each one of these quickly in a minute. So you've got your website, you've got search engine optimization, you've got social, you've got email marketing, you can get more referrals, you can do events, and offering telehealth, by the way, is also, along with creating a chatbot, we need to add that. A price transparency model, I love that. So what is your current strategy to increase the quantity and quality of traffic to your website and phone? That's super important. Next, when was the last time we looked at pricing, and have we done a competitive analysis? When was the last time we talked about the value proposition in the practice? What makes us unique and different, right? Why should someone work with us versus choose a competitor? Or why should someone do the treatment at all? Remember, this is elective medicine, right? Do we have the appropriate talk tracks ingrained into every customer or patient-facing employee or personnel or team member? Do we have a list of frequently asked questions that we know, it's called profound knowledge. We know in advance that there's a strong likelihood that patients are going to ask us. And I love talking with Dr. Kaplan about this stuff because he's really the first one, he's in the forefront of understanding that it's not offensive for someone to ask you the cost of a blepharoplasty or abdominoplasty or a breast augmentation. It doesn't minimize the value of you as a provider to be comfortable talking about price. There's this weird thing in elective medicine where we should never talk to the patient about price. Well, it's really the most important thing. And if someone says to you, yeah, can I get a quote on breast augmentation? We can't get uncomfortable around that. We have to get very comfortable around that. Particularly when someone calls up and says, hey, I noticed you do cool sculpting. Does the doctor do that? How much does that cost? And the answer can't be, it's expensive. And of course the doctor doesn't do that. Oh, and by the way, we get varying results. We're not going to say that. So the question is, what do we say when we're confronted with the same questions over and over and over and over? And that all has a huge impact on conversion, as does reviews, right? And building out those common objections raised by every customer, much like frequently asked questions. And there is a big distinction. Somebody asking you how much something costs is not a turn off, it's a turn on. That means they're interested in doing it. If I'm talking to someone about doing a treatment or procedure or becoming a customer, and that person never asked me how much it costs, what does that tell you in your brain? They have no interest in doing this whatsoever. Because if they were interested, they would want to know how much it costs, right? CRM software, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Automated communication, KPIs, key performance indicators. What should I measure? When should I measure it? How should I measure it? We need to start thinking through those KPIs for each part of the business, right? There's the treatment side, there's the financial side, there's the marketing side. You should have key performance indicators that gauges, even if you use it on a spreadsheet, right? You should have a way to be tracking, are we on pace or off pace? Are we on track or off track? Are we trending towards hitting our goals or not? Versus waiting to the end of the quarter or the end of the year to go to your account and say, how much money am I going to make? That's not what we want to do. We want to stay ahead of that, right? Having the right metrics in place will help us. Pipeline management, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Accountability to your plan, right? So if you're sitting on this call today and you're like, hey, I really like Dr. Kaplan. I like the technology that he's sharing. I actually think it would make a big difference. Well, hold yourself accountable. Reach out, right? Vet other competitors if that's what I have no financial stake in that. I think he's a great guy. He's got a great product. But if you like the concept, then follow up on it and hold yourself accountable, right? And of course, I absolutely believe 100% that we need to capture and record all inbound phone calls. Why? Because if you're responsible for running the practice, whether you're an owner or a practice manager, then you need to hear the conversations happening between your patients and your team members. And then we need to coach them through that, right? And you can't walk by the front desk, hear 10 seconds of a conversation and tell yourself, I totally know what's going on, because it's not true, right? And just like we want to capture those great phone calls and share, we also want to be able to share, hey, I noticed that at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, if you had a CRM solution, call comes right in through the website, gets recorded into the software. You can literally click on the call, listen to it, send a note to somebody else on the same platform saying, hey, Susan, I noticed that 3 minutes, 30 seconds when you said cool sculpting costs $9,000. It's actually not true. This is how we do it. And now you've solved the problem in real time. You cannot do that if you're not capturing and recording phone calls. And then, of course, on the retention side, email will make a huge difference. To Dr. Kaplan's example, built up his email base to 13,000, right? During COVID, having the ability to email and text at no cost was a game changer. A game changer, right? So what did you have to do? You had to make sure that you had an updated database. You had to make sure that we were asking every single person we came in contact with, to his point about his data collection around his chatbot and the price transparency module, right? Capturing that consumer data, because we know not all consumers are going to buy today. And so we need to create drip campaigns or lead nurturing campaigns that build value in the practice, have the ability to offer promotions, give additional reasons to come back in and give us another look. But we cannot do that if we're not capturing 100% primary valid email addresses along with a mobile phone number. There's really no excuse for it, right? And you can do that. Watch the difference it makes if you go from an email database of 2,000 to an email database of 13,000. And there is critical mass. If you can get the thing to 40,000, 20,000, whatever that number is, 10,000, you, to Dr. Kaplan's point again, you don't have to pay for marketing. All we need to do, you've got to pay someone to do it, but we need to create, then we just go to newsletters, promotional campaigns, and you can live off that database for a very long time, right? Email is super effective. Loyalty programs, memberships are becoming more popular now than ever. There was a study done, River Chase Dermatology, folks in the membership program versus not, $250 in each. The 250 who are in the membership program tracked over the course of 1 year spent almost 50% more. That's because we all love memberships. We all probably, every single person on this call right now is probably in some type of membership of something, right? That's how consumers behave. And we need to provide the same, right? Okay, so what separates, and we'll start to wind down. What separates great versus average practices in the industry? It's effective patient communication, like I said. Phone, site, social, email, text, and the ability to automate all of that with client relationship management software. Okay, real quick. Top is converting. As it relates to converting on the website, the first thing we need to do, and this is a really easy homework assignment, 30 seconds. What I want you to do is make sure that you do a little competitive analysis of how you're ranking for important keywords on your site. So for example, body contouring, skin tightening, you're trying to get rid of frown lines, freckles, whatever it is. Think about what the average consumer would type into Google to find that solution, okay? And then that should be driven by the attention should be given to 3, 4, 5 of the top economic drivers in the practice. And that's where we want to concentrate our efforts. It's the 80-20 rule. I'm going to focus my time on what the 80% of where the 80% of our revenue is derived from. Okay, if you do these, one-off procedures once a year, twice a year, I wouldn't spend a lot of time trying to create content around that. They're going to find you organically. It's not a focus. You're going to waste time and resources doing it, right? Avoid trying to optimize for manufacturer brand names in keywords. So things like Cool Sculpting, Sciton, Cutera, Candela, nobody knows what that is. And if you're spending a lot of time, energy, and effort trying to brand those manufacturer terms, you're doing yourself a disservice. Focus on what it solves for. So what is the treatment? How does it work? What are the benefits? Am I a good candidate? Good quality before and afters, a review on the page related to that specific treatment and procedure, and the ability to contact you. If you could just nail that with the appropriate amount of content in terms of actual words, I'm going to talk about that in a second, you're going to be in great shape. Okay. Prominent display of forms and phone calls and chatbots and every call to action that makes sense. We need to make sure that they can fill out a contact form from any page on the site. The big mistake we make is we only have a contact form on the homepage and we don't have contact forms on every interior page. We want to make sure that you see this here, ability to submit a form and the ability to call you. That needs to be replicated throughout the site, right? Obviously, before and after galleries are crucial and should be of actual patients unless disclosed appropriately. And we obviously want to incorporate video. Crystal Clear, for those of you who are watching, Crystal Clear is now part of Patient Now, and we recently acquired RX Photo. So if you're looking for a brand that can help you with photo management, RX Photo is amazing. They've got 3,000 clients. Full disclosure, I'm an investor in that combined entity. So we want to incorporate video. Next, we want to talk about, sorry guys. Email and database. We alluded to this already. The homework is this, guys. Whatever database you're using, whether it's MailChimp, Constant Contact, some other form of CRM or patient management or practice management, try to figure out what percentage of that database that you have a name, do you have a valid primary email address? And you've got to do some testing, right? So when you're sending out, if you've got 2,000 names and email addresses, what's the delivery rate? What's the open rate? What's the click-through rate, right? And what you should see is if you're emailing them consistently, like you have a monthly newsletter, you should be seeing north of 30% open rates. If it's a relatively new list and you haven't been marketing to it for a while, you might be in, 8, 9, maybe 10% of the people could open it, be great. Click-through rate, if you can get a half a point on click-through, that's great. So if you had 20,000 people and you sent out an email, 100 of those people would click through at a cost to you of 0. And that would be consistent with best practices, right? But it's going to start with, hold on, what condition is my email database in? What percentage of those penetration rate do I have a primary valid email address? And then let's get that cleaned up and into a marketable database and start utilizing it right away. And the key to email marketing, guys, is consistency and frequency. Meaning once you start a cadence, monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, quarterly, then you've got to stay in that cadence. That's the way you're going to get the most out of it, okay? Obviously, we love a year and a half ago, I was not a huge fan of text, utilizing text for promotional marketing. I am now absolutely a fan of text for promotional marketing. Most of the lead generation that we do is a combination of email and text. And there's no difference in terms of frustration from emailing and texting, meaning unsubscribe rates. So if people aren't unsubscribing and I'm getting into their phone, why would I not utilize text marketing, particularly if they're converting into inquiries and then doing demos and becoming customers, right? You've got to get real comfortable with that, which means we have to get real comfortable with asking for a mobile number and telling them why we're asking them, right? You have to give them a reason to make sure that it's okay. And there's no excuses around, well, I asked 100 people for their email last week. Nobody wanted to do it. That's not true. You're doing elective medical procedures on these people. You're touching their faces, touching their bodies. I would want everyone in the world that knows me to have my email address in case something went wrong, right? We're just not asking the right way. So you can see here, Send a text. Don't forget to take advantage of our September BHRT promotion. It's from the doctor, a real phone number. Click here, pops you over here to the landing page, hormone replacement therapy. Here's our September special. That's how it should work. Does that make sense? Easy, easy. The only way you can do that is if you've got that CRM solution, that's your marketing quarterback, that you can capture, gather, capture, and automate all different forms of communication, whether it's email, text, and even social. CRM that we offer is automate social, because the key to that is consistency and frequency. And one note, and I want to be mindful of your time today. As it relates to social media, please do not get caught up in comparative living, meaning looking at somebody who's got 25,000 followers on Instagram and saying, I'm never going to get there. I don't need to do it. If you can get a great date, what's a great group of followers? A great group of followers are people who live in your community, are interested in aesthetic services, have disposable income, and might actually come in and do a treatment or a procedure. If you've got a couple thousand of those people, you've got the greatest social media database in the world. And then the way that we curate that is two ways. One is engagement, cool posts, right? Price transparency would be a great post. Cool posts that pictures of the surgeon, the doctor, the employees, everybody's having fun. Great before and afters, consistent before and afters, great use of engagement. Conversion is making sure that we're hyperlinking our posts. So whatever the treatment or procedure that post is related to, we want to make sure that there's a bit.ly link that drives them from the post to the landing page and then promotes that treatment or procedure according to best practices we just discussed, right? And here's a bunch of simple, fun posts. So the point is we want to get them from here to here, from a chaotic environment to a controlled environment, right? And that little bit.ly link will help you do that. You'll get great results from that. And as I mentioned, we want to leverage CRM and automation. We want to automate patient communication. Once these people come into our universe, our ecosystem, not all patients are alike, right? You've got your surgical patients, you've got your recurring services, aesthetic services patients. We want to be able to not only capture and record their information, but then put them into marketing groups and send different messages that speak to their listening. That's the key. It's not just universal, throw against the wall, see what sticks. That's not what we want to do. We want to start paying attention to, okay, what does this group respond to? Make a note of that and double down on that. What does this group respond to? Make a note and then double down on that, versus constantly just sending out the same uniform once a month promotion to everybody who 80% of the people that get it would never even do that treatment or procedure, right? Nurturing incoming leads. We don't get a hold of the person on the first day, no problem. Day 1, they're going to get an email. Day 7, they're going to get an email. Day 10, they're going to get an email. And much like Dr. Kaplan's application, day 10, we'll send them an email to the person responsible for that lead saying, hey, you need to follow up with this opportunity. Because if we don't do that, who is going to do that? If you don't automate that function of someone coming by and tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, I think you need to call those people, no one's going to do that. And if there's no one paying attention to contact rates, contact attempts through employee productivity, we're absolutely missing out huge on what we call, that's the definition of pipeline management, okay? Track critical KPIs, manage potential patient revenue, manage your memberships. That's where you're going to do everything. Automate and scale to save time and improve conversion rates. Let's create, once we create a chain of messaging, right? Here's how we did it with Dr. Miami. We created messaging associated with each treatment and procedure, all automated one time. So every patient goes through the exact same process. They come in, I'm interested in this procedure, no problem. They get a text, click here so that we can talk. They can talk, then we send them a text, click here to book your own consult, then click here if you're approved for the surgery. And then they've got to wait a year because he's so busy. So we've got a whole slew of marketing messaging from the time they paid their 50% down payment to the time they have their treatment or procedure. We need to stay in touch with these people, right? And the best way to do it, utilize email, utilize social, and utilize text, right? And that's what it looks like, guys. This is how we're going to do it, particularly as it relates to cross-selling, memberships. We talked about that. It's huge. What type of practice do you want to be? What do you need to do? And when would be a good time to start? So what I like to think about, having just gone through for the third time in my life from starting a business to the sale of that business. First, we built a real nice business in the insurance. People who sold, auto and home insurance. We built CRM technology and marketing tools for insurance agents. We sold that to a private equity firm in 2011. Well, we did the same thing with Crystal Clear. And our product has been vastly improved. So we started from what do we want to sell? Who do we want to sell it to? How much do we want to charge? Who might be interested in buying it? From zero to now having this great group of investors come along and grab Patient Now, best in class practice management, grab Crystal Clear, best practice digital marketing, best in class, and then RX Photo, best in class in photo management. And now we've got the coolest platform in the industry based because it's belief. And if you're trying to grow, and if you're trying to get to a place where you can take your baby, your business model, and give it to somebody else in exchange for a bunch of money, then you need to start to incorporate all the things that we talked about today. And what's funny, we'll wind down with this. I was talking to Dr. Kaplan before our event today, and I said I was so grateful to be part of this new organization. And it's like going back to college because I'm amazed at the level of detail, the level of sophistication, the level of tools that we can use to measure the direction of our businesses currently. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And not only that we can, but what we need to and what we should be measuring every day to make sure I'm at 500,000 in revenue. I want to get to 2 million in revenue. When I get to 2 million in revenue, I want to get a check for $5 million. What do I need to do between this and this to get my money? And I don't mean to reduce it to anything as crude or simple as increase in revenue, but increase in revenue is a proxy for world-class care. It is a proxy for satisfied patients. It is a proxy for happy employees, right? All those things go into it. And it starts with a culture of belief. You can do it. Doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what you believe. So we would love for you to reach out. Patient Now and Crystal Clear have merged to become the leader. We've added RX Photo into this mix. And so we do have a March promotion because we should. So our March promotion, you could get that Dr. Miami website that I showed you guys, you could literally get that for free. Free practice website, world-class website, 60 days, no payments, only $95. Check us out with Patient Now. You could get a month free if you sign up for Patient Now from this promotional effort. Give us a ring. We'd love to do that. And we got a bunch of cool stuff around RX Photo. And this is how you can reach out to us. Again, my name is Tim Sawyer. I'm the Chief Evangelist for Crystal Clear, Patient Now, and RX Photo. As you can tell, the job title suits me. I love what we're doing. So I encourage you to reach out. If anybody has any questions, I don't see any in there. I'll just pop in quick. And so what is the percentage of email opt-outs? What is percentage of email opt-outs from leads? So in other words, somebody comes into the practice, fills out a form, goes to the chatbot, and now we're emailing those folks. If that number is over 1%, 2%, I'd be really surprised. It's not an issue. In marketing, we call it being a slave to the higher number, right? If you have a marketing strategy that's producing a result, it's low cost, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and it's not irritating people, I would definitely do that, like a lot, as much as I could, quite frankly. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, one way I would answer it also from my perspective is people often ask how many people opt out of putting in their contact information in the price estimator once they realize, like, to get the price they have to put in their contact, like how quick, like what percentage of patients quit the process. They're like, okay, I want to know the price of a breast aug or a skin peel or whatever. I want the price. Oh, I've got to put in my contact information. I'm going to quit. The answer to that question is 13% of the people give up and don't go through the process of putting in their contact information. That means that 87% of the people want to know the pricing that badly that they're going to put in their contact information. So if that was maybe what they're asking about opting out of emails, but after the fact, as far as people opting out, I mean, like our our unsubscribe rate from our monthly email newsletters is definitely less than 1%. But as far as going through the process of submitting a wish list, putting in their contact information, 13%. Everybody else is like, all right, I'll give you my contact information. Everybody else has already got my contact information. What do I care if you do too?
Yeah, and I think one of the big takeaways, guys, and we've still got a bunch of people listening, so if we'll stick on for a minute if there's any other questions. This whole notion, I made a note to myself, Dr. Kaplan talking about price transparency. Quite frankly, I'm shocked that it's taken this long. And we have an antiquated healthcare system that doesn't want to show everybody that. So I do think as insurance companies become, more encouraged to have transparency in the system with economic incentives or not economic disincentives anyways, I do think you're going to see a big consumer movement and remember guys, it's, 20 years ago, people didn't want to tell folks that they were getting Botox or a breast augmentation. They just want to talk about it, right? So yeah, price was a little bit less, not an open book, but now getting Botox is like buying a lawnmower. Right.
And they're putting it on social media themselves. I mean, it's not that they're not telling people, they're showing everybody.
Right.
It's a totally different world. And it's an Amazon world. People want to know how much things cost ahead of time. And it's like, I like the way you said it. It shouldn't be an offensive question. It's just like, I'm just trying to be reasonable and put it back on. And also I'd put it back on the doctors and the providers listening, is that before you go buy a car, you want to know the price before you go to the dealership. That doesn't make you a price shopper. You just want to make sure you can afford your new Maserati or whatever it is.
It doesn't mean you don't value the logo. You actually do value the logo.
Right.
You just want to make sure you can afford it. And that's not unreasonable. So I love the work that you're doing, Dr. Kaplan. I think you've got a great platform. I want to talk to you more about that over time. And guys, as a reminder, Dr. Kaplan, what's the best way if someone is interested in reaching out to you and taking advantage? And
am I able to show my screen? I'll put up my email address as well.
Please do. Audrey, can you do that?
Let's see here.
Yep, there you go.
All right, right there. Yep, that's the best way. They can email me, or as I mentioned in my previous presentation, they can also direct message me at Real Dr. Bay on Instagram if anybody uses that. But email address is the tried and true way for sure to reach out to me.
All right, like everybody else, email is still relevant.
Right.
Guys, I want to thank you, Dr. Kaplan, for coming on and hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
Always a blast. We got to do it more often. We always get great feedback. Guys, go check out what they've got. I mean, it's the data supports the move, right? I believe in data, and they've got data to support that works. And if the numbers that I was looking at is correct, if you're capturing 5% of folks who are fooling around with something on the internet, you're freaking killing it. So my hat goes off to you for that. Everyone, thank you. Visit Dr. Kaplan, visit Crystal Clear, RX Photo, Patient Now. Peace. Have a great week.
Thanks for having me. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.